All right, I'm with Andrew Chubb of Awale Resources, ARIC, on the TSX venture, and they're on the OTC too. Although the OTC symbol is not on the news release, it's probably somewhere on the website. Awale was thrust into the spotlight in 2024, exactly 1 year ago, actually. In March of 2024, the company had two sets of drill results that really grabbed the attention of investors. First, from the BBM target area at the Odienné Project in Côte d'Ivoire, Africa, Ivory Coast for us dumb Americans. And then the Charger target really delivered a spectacular interval, 32 meters grading 45.7 grams per ton gold from 165 meters down hole in hole OEDD 83. So that hole was just absolutely spectacular. I think, the stock went bonkers on that. I think it was almost a 10x in about a 1 or 2 month period. I think Awale has been trying to live up to that since, and that's been challenging. That's obviously a world-class gold intercept. So we're here with Andrew Chubb, the CEO, to get an update. It's been a while, Andrew. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks, Robert. Very busy, but very well. Being busy is good.
Yeah, being busy is good. It's a good thing to be dealing with. It means that there's a lot going on, usually good things. So give me an update, Andrew, on the whole project, but let's start with Charger, because Charger was the one that grabbed a lot of people's attention in 2024. You put out a piece of news on March 13th about Charger. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. We followed up that initial hole at Charger with, I think there was hole 88 and hole 100. And so we got some good intercepts from those holes as well. And they were sort of 600 odd gram meter intercept around there was the best one. I think it was, but we probably didn't really get recognition for that because that was half the value of the results that we put out in hole 83. But effectively, that was good for us because we were able to start using that data to think about geometry of Charger and revisit the core and thinking about the drilling that we've recently completed at Charger. So we effectively came up with a fold model as a control on the mineralization or the higher grade mineralization in a northeast trend. And the initial holes of that drilling program tested that model and visually, intercepted breccia and happy with what we saw from those holes. And then so we then started drilling above that, and we've also now completed some holes below that. So that program was extended to it was completed at a bit over 2,500 meters at Charger at diamond drilling. And we've got results pending from those, but we think we potentially unraveled that I guess geometry conundrum of the mineralization at Charger, and we've drilled a series of holes that have successfully intercepted breccia above and below that hole 83, as well as a long strike from hole 83. So, back then I did discuss, that we were looking at 150 to 200 meters of strike of the breccia at that stage. And that is what this drilling is showing up, and it's showing that it's open down dip plunge as well now. So, we're anticipating getting those results later next month, around then, like to start to see some results from that drilling. So we're really excited about getting those results in and planning up the next phase of drilling a charger as well.
So the interpretation is that charger is a fold, not a pipe. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So the initial sort of shallower drilling, there were gaps in between where we were hitting the breccia and below sort of 120 to 150 meters below surface. It all appeared to come together in a single kind of panel. And so within that panel, it's we believe it's a fold control, but it's a horizontal control on that higher grade mineralization.
Okay, I'm looking at the diagram in the presentation slide 6 that shows this new fold model. So obviously the grades here are pretty exceptional. I mean, gold grades that range from anywhere from 1.5 grams to over 30 grams per ton. What's the size potential that you see currently at Charger? I mean, you said it's open down plunge, so obviously there's room to grow it at depth. But from what you're seeing so far, what what sort of scale are we talking here?
Yeah, so we do have roughly 200 meters of strike within that northeast trend at the moment. So and there's significant there's significant grades within that sort of horizontal trend as well. So look, we'll see what the results come back with, but I think we think there's significant potential at Charger just within that, and then we're starting to understand other parts better. So we think in the geophysics there's also some exploration upside in other targets within that intrusion. So there are demagnetized zones within the intrusion, which match up well with where we've drilled. The drilling is where we get the breccia, the zone, they are demagnetized zones. So these are other upside exploration targets which we start to come.
So you're saying in the Charger area, there's more exploration targets that you're seeing.
Yeah, that's right. So and we haven't tested those at all yet either. So they're exploration up. I call them exploration upside targets. So I think we'll start to see those come into play later in the year as well. But just in where we've drilled, there is significant down dip plunge potential. And with grades like the grades we're getting a Charger, there's significant underground potential for something like that.
Okay. So let's talk about the other target areas. So we have Lando and the BBM zone. Yeah, why don't you tell us about some of the other target areas that you've been focused on in 2025, Andrew?
Sure. So look, we've done a lot of drilling. So we've had, drilled first holes on our 100% Awale target at Fremen. So we drilled a bit over 2,000 meters there in a series of 22 holes initially. And we actually, where we went back and looked at that drilling, we actually added a couple more holes as well. So we've drilled just over 2.5 to 2,000 meters at Fremen. And then we've drilled, that's RC drilling. And then we, on the joint venture, we've drilled pretty close to 15, 16, we will have drilled close to 15, 16,000 meters when we're finished drilling at Lando. So with RSD, we've drilled satellite targets, BBN. So, up to 2 kilometers along strike, northwest and southeast of the BBM discovery. We've done some scout drilling for what I would call satellite targets or potential satellite to BBM. And then at BBM itself, we've drilled a series of diamond holes of about 6,300 meters of drilling, which we've been releasing and now, results for. I think we've had 4 announcements with results on BDM this year so far, with one more pool of results to come. And that drilling brought that sort of core 1 to 1.3 kilometers of BDN. We tried to bring it into 100 meter grid, down to a depth of 300 to 350 meters. And so that drilling has been very successful. So very happy with what we've seen come out of that drilling. And we've confirmed the geometry of BDN, and we can see that it is absolutely open down plunge as well. And at the moment, we are still open along that trend, with drilling those BDN satellite targets along strike northwest and southeast of that BDN target. And then just recently, we've had the announcement on Lando. So Lando is a significant footprint. It's the 4 kilometer long gold, copper, moly geochemical footprint. So it's similar signature to the other discoveries that we've made at the project. And so we're doing a scout drilling program there, with what I would call cistern fences that go all the way across that anomaly, in the central sort of 2 kilometers of that target. So we've got roughly 2,600 meters of drilling planned there as a combination of RC and diamond. So some of the topography is a little bit steep there. So we've got diamond drilling going in where the topography is steeper, and then RC fences moving toward the east of that diamond drilling. So well, hopefully we can have we've got potential for another discovery on the joint venture at Lando as well. And then finally, we also did some shallow drilling at the Empire target, which was the first discoveries that we had on the properties through Newmont joint venture. And so, that was a nice discovery, and that, delivered 100 gram meter intercepts, and was something that sort of started an initial interest in Awale. And also got Newmont initially interested in the properties as well as drilling 100 gram meter intercepts in a maiden drill program on a project is significant. And so what we've done there is just drill 6 holes in the top 100 meters where there was a paucity of drilling, and that should tell us about grade continuity within that Empire target. And also, we've modelled a steeply northwest steep dipping or northwest plunge to that mineralization. So we should be able to confirm the geometry of Empire from that drilling for potential deeper holes at Empire in the future as well.
All right, that's a lot. There's always a lot to discuss, with Awale, because you have such a target-rich environment. I want to follow up a little bit on Lando and BBM. So these 2 areas are along the same structure. Is that correct?
Yeah, so they are. So there's a big regional structure that runs through the sort of central northeast of the property, which from Fremen's on our 100% of target Fremen is on the same trend as well. So from Fremen all the way up to Lando is about 15 kilometers. And BBM sits on a subsidiary structure on the northeastern side of that major structure, and Lando is a subsidiary structure on the western side of that major structure. So It is all on the same structural trend, yes.
So when I see this large copper gold and soil anomaly, and I also see Molly, anomaly, and I see conversation of chalcopyrite and stringer veins of Molly, um, I started thinking, well, is this a potential porphyry target? What's your interpretation of what's going on at Lando at this point in time?
No, they're not porphyry targets. They do have copper and moly with them, and that's to do with the our interpreted magmatic association with the mineralization. It's still structurally controlled, and that is the similarities to I guess other intrusion related districts. What IOCG style districts that you get these structurally controlled mineralization with gold, copper, and moly in those. So they're not porphyry targets. No. It's just to do with where the where the where the fluid that's carrying those metals is derived from, and we believe it's a combination of sort of orogenic and intrusion fluids that are contributing to the mineralization within the project area.
I see. Okay. So going back to the BBM zone, this seems to be, it seems to have been so far the main focus for the drilling in the JV with Newmont. Um, you've drilled a pretty good amount there at BBM. What's your assessment of the scale that you've outlined so far with the drilling to date, and where are the room or where is the room to expand that, and where would you go next at BBM?
So, look, we'll see what all the results put together, but we've defined quite nice, like significant mineralization over more than 1 kilometer of strike now, and this is mineralization that's more than half a gram gold equivalent. So, and the widths are still quite decent at those I guess at those extremities on the northeastern and southeastern sides. And then we've got higher grade mineralization in that plunging core that I was just talking about. So there is that's the something of significant size. I don't we can't we we don't have resources at this point in time, but we've got a significant strike there with very very nice grades and width. So the width of that mineralization in the core are ranging approximately on average about 40 meters true width. So they range between 30 and 50 meter downhole widths roughly, and so there is a nice broad mineralized core in there, and then just going out to sort of 20 odd meter width in the extremities, but all still over the ground at a gold equivalent. So it's a nice robust system that shows excellent continuity of mineralization and consistent grade. So it's something that we would things that we'd like to see with thinking about potential mining and something that is interesting from an open pit perspective. Engineers like to see consistent grades and width when they're optimizing clips and so forth, and that's exactly what we're getting at BDM.
All right, and then at Fremen, the ground that you own 100% of, you drilled, with an RC rig. Can you tell us about like the total number of holes, the total number of meters, and when we'll get those, results from the RC drilling at Fremen?
Yeah, so we drilled 22 holes for 2,100 meters, and it's over 4 scout drill fences. So It's quite broad space drilling. And we're looking for we're looking for geology and alteration that's similar to BBM. And they are scout drill fences, so it'd be great if we sort of get 20 meters at a gram. That's like that's pushing towards exactly BBM like. But in the scheme of things, with scout drilling, we're looking for um, you know trends. And if we get to 10 to 20 meters wide at more than half a gram or something like that, I think we'd be pretty happy. And we've got something that we can then latch onto and follow up with the more drilling. And we've got diamond rigs on site at all times. So once we get those RC results through, and if we're getting a sniff of something interesting, I think we would be in and following that up with a few diamond holes to get a better handle on the geology, and then potentially going on from there with more percussion drilling.
So this is a scout program, a shallow scout program. And when you get the results, then, you'll decide, what to do next. And, if you'll come in with a core rig to drill deeper. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you know the timing of the, results?
Yeah, so we should have results later on in from sometime mid-April onward. So yeah, that's when they'll be coming through from mid-April onward, something like that.
It's important to understand that, Awale has or had maybe at the start of the year 10 million cash, and that's for drilling on its wholly owned claims. The core project area is funded by Newmont in a partnership.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that some investors may not fully understand, that the drilling at BVM, at Charger, at Lando, that's all funded by Newmont, the largest gold producer in the world. I'm just interested, Andrew, what are your conversations like with Newmont? Do they talk to you? Do they give you feedback on the results?
Yeah, they certainly do. I mean, their joint venture lead is on site at least 4 times a year. And he is, gets in. He's a good geologist and gets intimate with the geology, and so we have quarterly strategy. Well, we have an annual strategy and a quarterly update basically with Newmont, which where we align ourselves on what the budget, what we're going to spend money on with drilling and geophysics and things like that for the year, and then the subsequent quarters we adjust it, based on the results that we're getting from the drilling and surface geochemistry, etc., that we're doing. So yeah, we have a positive relationship with Newmont, and they're happy with what they're seeing. I guess today we're working our way towards a Newmont scale project, which is a tier 1 scale project, and so and they're happy with what we're seeing and the results that we're producing.
If anybody has a question for Andrew, please ask to speak, and I'll call on you. I know you've attended some conferences. I know you were at PDAC, Andrew. What have your conversations been like with investors lately? Like, what's the feedback that you've gotten?
Oh, look, I think generally we do get positive feedback, and I think when you're talking with people, it is the opportunity to let people understand that we view things like it's not a single deposit story. That it is a combination of the discoveries that we have made, and with the potential for more discoveries like Lando as we move forward, that can come together to create the tier 1 mining district. So all the discoveries that we have made are within a 15-kilometer radius. And so, you would be, comfortable in thinking of those uh, all coming into a central processing facility. And, with things like with the grade of Empire and Charger and things like that, you can truck ore quite considerable distances when you've got those sorts of grades. So, up to 30 kilometers or even more with grades like we get at Charger.
For somebody who may not know Ivory Coast or Africa very well from a gold mining, investor standpoint, what can you tell us about the country of Ivory Coast and some of the operating mines in the region, some of the companies who are active?
Look, it's a great jurisdiction to operate in. Logistically, it works very well. It's well serviced by a network of tarred roads. Some of them which are under repair, and they're being repaired on a regular basis. And there is also an increase in that road network as well, to various rural areas. There is Cote d'Ivoire is actually a net exporter of power into the region, so into other countries in the region as well. So, into Odienné town, there's power into Odienné town and the surrounding villages. There's a 90 kVA substation in Odienne, so there's access to power as well. And logistically, we're not in the more tropical areas that are like in the south of the country. So the country is generally quite open and easy to access. And there's a significant amount of laterite sheeted roads and tracks to various villages that provide good access to the project area as well. So, and then, from a, I guess, the country perspective, um, Cote d'Ivoire is a growing economy. It's for the last 12 years, it's had significant GDP growth year on year. And that, mining has been a contributor to that, but it's not the only piece of that economic growth pie. There is electricity generation. There's significant agriculture. It's one of the biggest global exporters of cocoa. There is also, significant cashew farming, rice farming, various other things as well. So, it's a strong economy, and that creates I guess, a strong political environment as well. And that growth has trickled down to, you know, there's a burgeoning middle class, and with that increase in the electricity grid to, I think, nearly all, something like 80 to 90% of villages have power in Cote d'Ivoire now as well. So it's a good place to be operating.
All right, and then I'll give you a final word just to lay out. I mean, I do recall there's a rainy season that starts at some point, I think in May, goes for 2 or 3 months, if I recall correctly. So can you just give us a rough timeline of the news flow that we can expect from the company over the coming months?
Yeah. So look, we a as a project, we'll have, at the end of this quarter, we'll have finished close to 18,000 meters of drilling, and that we're just started reporting now. And we've reported, roughly 5,000 meters of drilling to date. So between now and through right into May, we'll be seeing results coming through from all that drilling from Fremen, Empire, BDM satellites, Charger, and Lando. Um, and it will take a small hiatus once we're finished drilling at Lando, but we'll be looking at getting, regrouping and drilling some more holes from in May. And we expect usually the wet season really kicks in July, and it's very wet through to September, and starts to dry out in
Vukasin, I thought you were going to be quiet. Um, you got the floor.
I just have a couple quick ones. Hi, Andrew. Do you guys have the possibility or ability to extend anything at Lando from on the ongoing work that you have right now?
It's probably unlikely because it'll be the last results that we get through. And as soon as it starts raining at Lando, logistically, it's the most difficult. It's the most difficult target to get to. There's a lot of low-lying swampy areas between the major roads and that target itself. So, but it's unlikely that before wet season that we would get more drilling in there. But for sure, I mean, if we've had some good results from Lando and it warrants follow up, we would look to get into Lando at the end of 2025, so November, December.
Right. And what's the current timeline on the rest of the your own licenses?
Yeah, so we're it's been what I'll say is it's been a journey to get permits granted. So the two permits that are closest to the joint ventures properties to the north, we're expecting them to be granted soon. And we've already got we've already got we can start doing we have started doing some very early stage geochemistry on those, which is through sediment sampling. And we've already got a aerial geophysics contractor lined up to come in and fly the permits as soon as we manage to get them granted. So once we get them granted, we can get our permits to fly geophysics, and it's in the timeline to get that geophysics done before the wet season kicks in. And then we will be, we can start to collect more intensive geochemical samples beyond that, with a view to putting together targets on those properties, toward the end of this year. So, really, probably most likely drilling on those targets in early 2026.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
All right, Andrew. Thank you very much for your time this morning. This conversation will be up on my YouTube at Gold from Your Capital in the next couple of days. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Cheers.
Thanks very much, Robert. Thanks for your time.
Cheers.